Jurassic World Rebirth reintroduced one of the biggest dinosaurs both in size and fame into the franchise, the Spinosaurus. And this got me thinking about the OG Spinosaurus from Jurassic Park 3 again, known to some as Asset 87. Rebirth's Spinosaurs stand, or should I say swam their ground firmly as being solid depictions of the animal. But there was something about the original beast that made it its own interesting individual, a creature that didn't make sense in our natural world. After seeing the more modern and accurate depiction in Jurassic World Rebirth, looking back at Asset 87, it very well could have been the first attempt at making a dinosaur hybrid in this universe. For years, it seemed the Indominus Rex was the first successful, sorta, hybrid creation, and perhaps that's still accurate, though the original Spinosaurus might have been an earlier attempt at this genome-splitting science, with less distinct hybrid traits being driven to the surface of its appearance, but still its DNA might be crawling with all sorts of other animal DNA. In this video, I have two theories for you on the possibility of a hybrid origin story for the Jurassic Park 3 Spinosaurus. To craft these theories in my brain, I dug deep into the Jurassic lore, and after going over a ridiculous amount of information, using the extended lore and real-life discoveries, I feel like these theories make a lot of sense, and while obviously they are just fan theories, I'd like to think both could fit into the mythos of Jurassic Park. But now for a bit of context. So during the marketing run for the Jurassic World movies, there were these soft cannon blasts of information created to hype up some of the backstory of the franchise that were centered around the DPG, the Dinosaur Protection Group. It's hard to really say if these can be considered official pieces of canon. At the same time, it's also the closest we've got to true lore on this subject, so let's roll with it. In these fictional posts, there was a lot of discussion surrounding InGen and Masrani. But for now, let's focus primarily on something called the Gene Guard Act. This was a law made in response to the events that played out in the Lost World story. Specifically, the T-Rex making it to the mainland and, well, you know. John Hammond's speech at the end of the film also highlighted what the Gene Guard Act put forth, which was giving the de-extinct animals rights of their own and protecting them, like how we do it with endangered species in real life. The act itself is actually fairly complex, but the big goal was to place regulations on this type of research, and to keep the already created animals as safe and far away from humans as possible, and to make sure the creation of ancient beasts like these dinosaurs was put on a pause for an indefinite amount of time. More or less, just let everything be and move on. As you could imagine, this law was almost instantly broken. Mere months after Masrani had acquired InGen, illegal research once again fired up on Isla Sorna. They called it amalgam testing, short for amalgamation, meaning the use of other animal DNA to fill in the gaps of a specific genome. Now, in a sense, all the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park are amalgamations, but the extra focus on it with this illegal batch of dinosaurs made you think there were more efforts put into this hybrid science here. We also have to remember this was the ultimate goal of the Gen 2 of Jurassic Park under Masrani, so getting in on early hybrid testing, even if illegal at the time, was worth it for the potential future riches. On the list of illegal dinosaurs was the Spinosaurus. It may not have been on InGen's list, but the other dinosaurs that may have been used to fill in the Spinosaur DNA gaps may have. Y'all remember Dr. Wu, right? His role in the creation of hybrids was vital, and he mentions an accident that was left on Isla Sorna related to gene splicing. None of this officially says the accident was the Spinosaurus, but what else could it be? All signs point to this being Wu acknowledging the Spinosaurus as the first hybrid test that went wrong. So this is where we start the first of my two theories for the hybrid origin of the Spinosaurus, so make sure and give the video a like if you've been enjoying this little Jurassic adventure so far. Remember, just because the Spinosaurus doesn't have all the evident traits of being a hybrid like its successors, that doesn't mean its DNA shows the same. In 1999, when the Spinosaurus was illegally created in the lore, there wasn't much solid information in the paleo records on the Spinosaurus. If Jurassic's lore lines up with reality, which I see no reason why it shouldn't to some extent, then let's say paleo discoveries remain in line with how they actually happened in real life. After the destruction of the original set of Spinosaurus fossils, it wasn't until the turn of the millennia that substantial fossils were found of the creature again. So when the Spino was being being made in the fictional Jurassic lore, all they had were sparse fragments of its remains, not enough to create an accurate depiction like the one we saw in Rebirth. If you want to learn more about why the Spinosaurus design changed in Rebirth, by the way, check out my video on the subject after you're done with this video. The Spinosaurus was such a curious species. The remaining notes left over from the destroyed original fossils claim this to be a predator potentially bigger than the T-Rex and that it had a massive sail on its back. Now, if you were a big bio company, you would picture this otherworldly monster and know it would capture the attention of the world. So you would make sure it got made even if the genome was incomplete and if it was illegal. And on InGen's list in the lore, guess what two dinosaurs who had much more of their fossil records complete prior to 1999 in the real world, and who just so happened to come from the same family tree and share similar DNA with the Spinosaurus? The Baryonyx and Suchomimus come into the picture now. When the first giant claw of the Baryonyx was discovered in 1983, an expedition was sent soon after and they ended up finding roughly 70% of the complete skeleton. And get this, the discovery of the Suchomimus, another Spinosaurid, was oddly nearly identical to the Baryonyx. In 1997, 2 years prior to the creation of the Spinosaurus in Jurassic lore, 2/3 of the Suchomimus skeleton was found, about 70% again. So both the Baryonyx and Suchomimus had a majority of their fossil records discovered prior to the Spinosaurus' secret creation within the lore of Jurassic. It's crazy how real life and Jurassic lore intertwine, so I hope you're getting a kick out of this like I am. Now, skeletal discoveries aren't ideal for complete dinosaur creation in the Jurassic universe. Usually there's the need of more preserved biological remains like the mosquitoes with the dinosaur blood preserved in amber. But there is this one big difference between the Jurassic universe and our real world. They have insane technology that is still mostly sci-fi to our modern science. With that knowledge, I think it's plausible that they would be able to grab a hefty bit of DNA from the discoveries of the Baryonyx and Suchomimus to be able to bring these animals back to life. Baryonyx were actually born on Isla Sorna in the lore, and they were eventually going to be brought as new attractions to the park once it got up and running. That never happened, but its DNA records were now readily available. The Suchomimus could have been made as well, and was on the list to make it for the park eventually, but it never got to be made until leading up to the birth of Jurassic World. So to help create the Spinosaurus, InGen could have used Baryonyx and Suchomimus DNA to complete the Spinosaurus' DNA. Both of these creatures had a more upright classic theropod posture according to the records, which could have led to the Spinosaurus' immense height and more upright stance. Add a little crocodile DNA due to the common thought that the Spinosaurids were very crocodilian-like dinosaurs, and because, well, there was living DNA that could be used, and you have your hybrid Spinosaurus. It may not have been what the actual animal looked like, but it gets the job done, right? I hope you like that theory, but the second one I have for you has something some of you will probably remember that got a lot of buzz around it in 2025. A company called Colossal, pretty much our real world's current InGen or Masrani, just hopefully without the shady shit, claimed to, in a sense, resurrect the direwolf. Arguments about the technicality of this whole endeavor are still going on, but summing the whole thing up, they used the preserved DNA from 2 direwolf specimens to learn more about the extinct wolves. Then they used advanced technology to take the DNA of a gray wolf, alive and kicking right now, and then modify it to show direwolf traits that they had discovered. So back to Jurassic now, what if InGen took the DNA of one of their known to be created animals in the lore, the Baryonyx, and then morphed its DNA, while adding in some Suchomimus elements to look like what they thought a Spinosaurus would look like according to that era's science. At that time, Spinosaurus weren't thought to be as aquatic, so naturally it has a more classic theropod shape. Once again, add in a bit of crocodile DNA to complete the DNA strand for your Spinosaurus, and you have your de-extinct Spino according to the 1990s. Using real-world scenarios to bring this theory to life. What do you guys think? So those are my 2 theories on the possibility of the Spinosaurus from Jurassic Park 3 being the first attempt at a hybrid dinosaur. Remember everyone, these are just theories and I'm not claiming any of them to be true, but they do make sense in the known lore, and hey, I thought it was fun to talk about and just explore with you guys. If you feel the same about this type of content, consider subscribing and sharing this video around. It really does help a lot. This has been Jacob, and I'll see you in the next one.